Welcome back, everyone. This is Frontline Faith, where faith and culture meet. We're diving into some pretty deep stuff today. First, we're going to look at the World Series. The Yankees, with the Dodgers leading right now. We're also going to unpack some key takeaways from this interview that everybody's talking about between a couple of guys. I think one's named Joe and Donald. I don't know. We'll get into that. And then lastly, I want to talk about the Coronae Borealis. If you don't know what that is, stick around. You're listening to Frontline Faith.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everyone, welcome to Frontline Faith, a weekly podcast where faith and culture meet. I'm your host, Pastor Ryan, a 20-year Army veteran, 2 decades of ministry experience. Thanks for listening. Like, share, subscribe, all the good stuff. You're listening to Frontline Faith. As you know, if you're watching the World Series right now, the Dodgers are leading 3-0, 3-0, and the Yankees are facing a do-or-die situation tonight in Game 4. If the Dodgers win tonight, they'll claim the World Series title in a sweep, making this a crucial do-or-die moment for both teams. Let's look at some key stats and performances so far. We got to start with the Dodgers. I am a Yankees fan, but the Dodgers are playing out. They're showing out right now, and they have been dominant in their offense and their pitching. Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, they're showing up in a huge way. Freeman hitting a consistent 370 in the postseason has driven in multiple runs. Home run. He's like this home run star right now. Betts, his speed, his defensive skills have been game changers. This Dodgers team has held the Yankees lineup at bay. The Yankees are not scoring. They're not getting on base. They're not pitching like we've seen in the season or during this season. In their 3-0 lead, the Dodgers bullpen has managed a collective ERA of 1.90. Underlining their dominance on the mound. Now, we have to look at the Yankees. I wouldn't be a Yankees fan if I didn't talk about the Yankees. So let's just look at it. I mean, it's depressing, but despite the high hopes of the backing of some huge names in baseball, the Yankees have struggled to break through the Dodgers pitching. Aaron Judge has only 1 home run in the World Series. He is struck out more times than not lately. And if you watch last night's game, it's just sad. I mean, the only hope I had in last night's game was the bottom of the 8th. And to say Verdugo, it was a hero, even though he did hit a home run late in the game. It got the Yankees to 2. The Dodgers are already at 4. There was no hope going into the bottom of the 9th because you knew what was coming. The Dodgers pitching has been consistent, and the Yankees hitting has been anything but consistent. Now, while Giancarlo Stanton, Gleyber Torres, they've not found momentum that they had in the regular seasons, everybody online on social media is saying if the Yankees don't win tonight, if they're swept in the World Series, Aaron Boone might be on the chopping block. I don't see that happening just because of his record as the manager. But he did say that the Yankees were resilient. He says this, "We've been here before. It's not over till it's over." But with the Dodgers lead, tonight's game will need to see a complete 180 for the Yankees if they hope to keep this series alive. In fact, they've got to win out to just make this interesting for Yankees fans and everybody else. From a faith perspective, this battle for the World Series titles reminds us of perseverance. Now, this isn't a Jesus juke. I didn't try to juke this in on you, but Romans 5:3-4 speaks to this kind of moment, even though it does not speak to baseball. I need you to hear me say that. If you hear me quote scripture and say, that's why my team won, then you can turn this podcast off. But I do want to emphasize this is where faith meets culture. And so What's going on in the culture right now? One is the World Series, and how does faith intertwine with this? Romans 5, verses 3 and 4. We also glory in our sufferings because we know that suffering produces perseverance. Perseverance, character. And character, hope. This relentless pursuit on the baseball field is a testament to both teams trying to pursue something that is not yet. In this life, we are living proof that if we walk through the circumstances, the situations, the hardships, the trials that we go through, and we hope in something not yet, Christ coming back, Christ's return, Christ making all things new, it doesn't matter if it's on the baseball field or if it's challenges in our own life, there's resilience that comes from faith. There's character that comes from faith. There's perseverance that comes from faith. Now, I can say on the baseball field, hey, I won. Thank you, Jesus, for letting me win. It's icky. It's icky, right? But if I'm going through life, say cancer, say a loss of a loved one, say loss of a job, say inflation, whatever you want to say it is, and I say, I live my life in joy and peace because what Christ has done for me. That's a different story. That's a different moment that we can say to others, it's not about what's going on around me. It's not about the Yankees winning or the Yankees losing. It's about where my ultimate hope is. Is your hope in a baseball team, a sports team, or is your hope, your ultimate hope, in Jesus Christ? Did you catch the news on an interview between a guy named Joe and a guy named Donald? Former President Donald Trump went on the Joe Rogan Experience podcast, and it was fascinating to say the least. It was long, over 2 hours long. Joe Rogan really brought out a side of Donald Trump that people rarely see based on what the mainstream media portrays. He was thoughtful and even vulnerable at times. They talked about everything from media bias to the challenges of being the president of the United States. Trump shared his take on the economy, and you could almost hear Joe Rogan thinking, this guy actually has a plan. By the end of this podcast, I half expected the current VP to call in asking for tips on how to run a campaign. Let's be honest. If anyone could turn a podcast into a political movement or a political ad, it's Donald Trump. Who knew the secret to success was just some good old Trump enthusiasm and a side of elk meat? Joe Rogan's interview with Donald Trump took many by surprise, especially as it allowed Trump to showcase a side rarely seen in mainstream coverage. The conversation offered valuable takeaways on the state of American culture, media, and truth. I've got 3 main takeaways that resonated with me and probably most of the American people the most. First, Trump's down-to-earth demeanor. One of the biggest surprises of the interview was his relatability. Rather than the fiery, combative tone he's known for in rallies and press conferences, Trump appeared down-to-earth and relatable. His conversation with Rogan felt more like a friendly discussion than a political showdown. Trump shared personal stories. One of my favorites was the moment he and Melania walked into the Lincoln bedroom, and he noticed the detail, the extravagance, the luxury that it felt like, but also the history that he talked about President Lincoln. He expressed pride in his family and speaking openly about his experiences. People often see one side of me, he said, but there's more to the story. Reflecting on the gap between his public persona and personal life. This side of Trump shows the value of humanizing our perspectives. In today's polarized culture, it's all too easy to label people based on a single dimension. But faith encourages us to see people as whole individuals, recognizing their complexities and unique contributions. If you look at the overall scope of what's happening around or surrounding the former president, Donald J. Trump, there is a lot of stuff that we just don't know about him. Yes, we've seen him in movies, Home Alone. We've seen him in commercials, ads. We've seen him on The Oprah Show, The View, all of the things that we've seen famous people do. And he was popular. He was liked. He was loved. But there was a switch. Something switched when he became the president of the United States. And we have seen this play out. And we've often gotten a wrong portrayal of who he actually is. This leads me to the second takeaway: mainstream media versus real news. Both Joe Rogan and Donald Trump emphasized a growing mistrust in mainstream media. If you were to line up 100 people and talk to them about mainstream media topics and podcast topics or YouTube topics, people just don't know who to believe anymore. There's this constant stream of conflicting information. Trump's quoted as saying the media has become about drama and ratings, not facts. That's why podcasts and alternative platforms are so important. People want real conversations, not scripted sound bites. This shift is pivotal, especially for those who seek truth in a world filled with noise. Just as Proverbs 18:15 says, the heart of the discerning acquires knowledge, for the ears of the wise seek it out. We're called to be discerning about the information we consume. Think about what we watch on television, what we hear on the radio. Oftentimes, those platforms produce ratings based on what we want to hear. We like the drama. We like arguing. We like division. All the things that we should never run to. The media can put production on it and make things sound awesome. And all it's there for is ratings. Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, all of it. They're all out to get you to watch their station, to watch their news, to watch their program, to watch the drama play out how they want to present it. The interview between Rogan and Trump highlighted the need for all people to dig deeper, to seek out platforms that value integrity, and to ensure our voices add light rather than contributing to the confusion that we hear all over the place. There was a Paul Harvey interview back in the 60s, and he highlighted what he would do if he were the devil. I want you to hear this and think about how we are consuming the news, consuming information today in 2024.
If I were the devil, if I were the devil, if I were the prince of darkness, I'd want to engulf the whole world in darkness, and I'd have a third of its real estate and 4/5 of its population, but I wouldn't be happy until I had seized the ripest apple on the tree, thee. So I'd set about, however necessary, to take over the United States. I'd subvert the churches first. I'd begin with a campaign of whispers. With the wisdom of a serpent, I would whisper to you as I whispered to Eve, do as you please. To the young, I would whisper that the Bible is a myth. I would convince them that man created God instead of the other way around. I would confide that what's bad is good and what's good is square. And the old, I would teach to pray after me, Our Father, which art in Washington. And then I'd get organized. I'd educate authors in how to make lurid literature exciting so that anything else would appear dull and uninteresting. I'd threaten TV with dirtier movies and vice versa. I'd peddle narcotics to whom I could. I'd sell alcohol to ladies and gentlemen of distinction. I'd tranquilize the rest with pills. Wow. If I were the devil, I'd soon have families at war with themselves, churches at war with themselves, and nations at war with themselves, until each in its turn was consumed. And with promises of higher ratings, I'd have mesmerizing media fanning the flames.
There you go.
If I were the devil, I would encourage schools to refine young intellects, but neglect to discipline emotions. Just let those run wild. Until before you knew it, you'd have to have drug-sniffing dogs and metal detectors at every schoolhouse door. Within a decade, I'd have prisons overflowing. I'd have judges promoting pornography. Soon I could evict God from the courthouse, then from the schoolhouse, and then from the houses of Congress.
Wow.
And in his own churches, I would substitute psychology for religion and deify science. I would lure priests and pastors into misusing boys and girls and church money. If I were the devil, I'd make the symbol of Easter an egg and the symbol of Christmas a bottle. If I were the devil, I'd take from those who have and give to those who wanted until I had killed the incentive of the ambitious. And what'll you bet? I couldn't get whole states to promote gambling as the way to get rich.
Gosh.
I would caution against extremes in hard work, in patriotism, in moral conduct. I would convince the young that marriage is old-fashioned, that swinging is more fun, that what you see on TV is the way to be. And thus I could undress you in public, and I could lure you into bed with diseases for which there is no cure. In other words, if I were the devil, I'd just keep right on doing what he's doing. Paul Harvey. Good day.
That's 1960s, and we're living that out in 2024. Here's how we discern what's real and what's not real. Do your research. Don't depend on a certain news channel to get all the facts. There are a plethora of tools to use online that you can find real, true information, unbiased, factual things, and you can put your thoughts together, put your opinions together. But the third thing I want to talk about, a takeaway from the Trump-Rogan interview, is that lies and hate get you nowhere. Perhaps the most striking point Trump made was his critique of the Democratic Party's tactics, specifically calling out what he saw as a reliance on lies and hate to sway public opinion. Attacking your opponent, it might get you attention, but it's not going to build anything lasting. I mean, think about just the lies that have been spewed out based on Donald Trump. He's the next Hitler. He's going to take away all your rights, yada, yada, yada. And you have to think about, when he was president before, was he Hitler? Did he take away your rights? These are things to think about when you're looking at or watching the mainstream media. There's a hunger for leadership that's honest, that's straightforward, instead of constantly attacking others. This sentiment connects deeply with our call as Christians to live with integrity and to avoid hatred. 1 Peter 2, verse 1 instructs the church, "Therefore, rid yourselves of all malice and all deceit, hypocrisy, envy, and slander of every kind." If you want to build a culture based on love and respect, it starts by rejecting hostility and committing to truth. With everything going on, how do we vote for a candidate over another? Reconciling a vote for a particular candidate involves weighing key issues, personal beliefs, and even perceived values in alignment with one's faith. For believers, this often means examining where candidates stand on issues like religious freedom, ethics, family values, policies that affect the well-being of others. Voting for a candidate isn't necessarily an endorsement of their character or every aspect of their personal life, but may instead reflect a choice based on who aligns most closely with certain values or convictions that Christians feel responsible for advocating for. We shouldn't vote based on the ads that they put on commercials. Most of those things are just slandering the other person to get you to believe a certain way. I vote based on my convictions, based on my faith. In considering someone like Trump versus Harris, some Christians may look at their policy stances and public records, specifically if there's concerns central to their beliefs, like religious liberty or economic policies they believe will aid families and communities. Many will look at their stances on abortion. Who is going to stand up and say every life matters? Every human life is valuable, made in the image of God. In Psalm 139, David reflects, "For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. Your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book." Psalm 139, this passage reveals God's intimate role in forming each person, demonstrating that life has value and purpose even before birth. God does not wait until we are born to know us or to set our lives in motion. He is involved from the very beginning, calling us precious. Genesis 1:27, we see God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God, he created them, male and female, he created them. Each life, regardless of age or stage of development, reflects God's image and deserves dignity, respect, and protection. Life is not a mere choice, it's a sacred design of God. As followers of Christ, we are called to defend the vulnerable and to be a voice for those who cannot speak for themselves. Let us uphold life. Let us vote for life. It's a gift from God. Now, there is a balance between circumstances that happen, such as rape or incest. But the argument that abortion is healthcare is craziness. It's like we're living in the upside down. Healthcare heals. Abortion ends life. True healthcare aims to restore, protect, and promote life, while abortion, by definition, ends it. Even in heartbreaking situations like rape and incest, abortion doesn't reverse the harm done to the woman. It simply compounds the tragedy by taking the life of an innocent unborn child. While abortion is sometimes framed as care, its end result is fundamentally different from other medical interventions that aim to heal and preserve life. Two victims deserve care and compassion. When a woman suffers assault, she is a victim of profound violation. She needs love, support, and compassionate care. The unborn child, however, is also an innocent party. Recognizing this can lead us to seek solutions that protect and care for both lives involved. Resources like healthcare, counseling, emotional support are essential in helping a woman heal without adding further harm. The church should rally around victims, should rally around young mothers, should rally around the unborn, the one walking alone seemingly, and wrap our arms around them and walk with them, supporting them and caring for them. But there's also another argument. Evil cannot correct another evil. As Christians, we believe that an evil action cannot justify another. Ending the life of an unborn child does not erase the trauma a young woman can go through, but can sometimes lead to additional emotional and psychological distress. There are many reports, there are a plethora of websites and quotes and things that can tell you that many post-abortive women report regret and sorrow, adding layers to the healing process. Instead, a holistic approach can bring healing, focusing on support networks, counseling, and recovery for the mother while valuing both lives. There are many families out there longing and yearning for children that can't have children that will be first in line to adopt. We need to advocate for long-term support and prevention. Rather than choosing abortion as a solution, focusing on prevention and support is crucial. This would include improving social systems, addressing issues of abuse and assault head-on, and creating a more supportive society that does not leave women feeling as though abortion is their only option. Building structures to support survivors and prevent repeat trauma is a compassionate, life-affirming way to truly help victims heal. Christians can promote a path that respects both the dignity of the woman and the life of the child, acknowledging that true health care and healing should not come at the expense of another life. Imagine looking up into the night sky and witnessing a cosmic event so powerful that it can outshine entire galaxies from millions of light years away. In the vastness of our universe, every so often, something astonishing happens that can actually be seen from Earth. A rare occurrence on a cosmic scale. Right now, we're witnessing one of these extraordinary events, a nova explosion in the T Coronae Borealis star system, or TCRB. An event so bright and so rare that it's capturing imaginations across the globe. TCRB belongs to a remarkable class known as a current novae. Unlike typical novae, which erupt just once, these unique binary star systems experience explosive outbursts at regular intervals. In TCRB's case, two stars, one a white dwarf and the other a red giant, orbit around one another in a gravitational dance. Now, over time, the white dwarf pulls gas from the red giant, accumulating a shell of material. When the pressure and temperature reach critical levels, this accumulated gas ignites in a brilliant explosion that rivals the light of entire galaxies. This cycle of accumulation and eruption, spaced by decades, produces intense light visible even from Earth. But this time, the explosion is even more radiant than expected, drawing people worldwide to witness this cosmic display. For those interested in catching a glimpse of TCRB, the journey begins by locating the Big Dipper, one of the most recognizable features in the northern night sky. Trace a line down from its handle to find the bright orange star Arcturus in the constellation Borealis. But don't stress out, I'll put this in the description below. But above and to the right, you'll see the faint semicircular formation of stars known as Coronae Borealis, or the Northern Crown. Right in the heart of this constellation is where TCRB shines brightly, a tiny point of light echoing a massive display of energy from far beyond. What's fascinating about TCRB and other celestial wonders is how they invite us to contemplate the power, precision, and artistry of God's creation. Psalm 19:1 reminds us, "The heavens declare the glory of God. The skies proclaim the work of his hands." The nova in TCRB serves as a real-time reminder that the heavens indeed declare his glory, even without words. It's as if the universe itself is praising God, shining forth his creativity, his vastness and might in ways that leave us standing in awe. Throughout the Bible, stars are frequently symbols of God's promises, his guidance, and his constant presence. In Genesis 15:5, God promises Abraham that his descendants will be as numerous as the stars, a testament to the fulfillment of God's covenant through faith. In Matthew 2:2, the wise men follow a star to Bethlehem, the birthplace of Jesus, symbolizing hope and divine guidance. In 1 Corinthians 15:41, Paul writes, "The sun has one kind of splendor, the moon another, and the stars another, and star differs from star in splendor." Just as each star has its unique beauty, and God calls them by name, the scriptures tell us, each one of us have been given our unique purpose by God, shining in different ways for his glory. This nova explosion is not just an astronomical event, but also a profound reminder of how God's design operates on scales beyond human comprehension. The rhythmic cycle of TCRB's eruptions reflect a divine order, even in the furthest reaches of space. It's a bit like God's work in our lives, patient, persistent, and ultimately illuminating. TCRB has been quietly gathering strength, so to speak, for decades, storing up energy until the moment of eruption. Similarly, God often works in our lives in ways that might seem silent or slow, but when the time comes, His plan for us bursts forth, transforming everything. As we stand in awe of the Nova's beauty, we're drawn into the humility expressed in Psalm 8, 3 and 4. When I consider your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and the stars which you have set in place, what is mankind that you are mindful of them, human beings that you care for them? The God who orchestrates the stars, galaxies, and celestial explosions is the same God who knows each one of us, who cares for us deeply. And if he can keep a binary star system in perfect balance for thousands of years, surely he is able to hold us through the trials and seasons of our own lives. This nova explosion isn't just an extraordinary sight. It's a cosmic echo of the greatness, faithfulness, and artistry of God. In a world filled with distractions, this glimpse of the heavens reminds us to look up, to remember the vastness of God's creation, and to reflect on his hand in every detail, both grand and small. So take a moment tonight and gaze up, to let the beauty of the stars inspire gratitude and wonder, and to remember that God, the one who painted the skies with galaxies, is the same God who calls you by name. As we wrap up today's episode, I want us to think about some things. Think about each moment, the thrill of the World Series, the candid discussion on Joe Rogan's podcast, and the nova explosion lighting up our night sky. All of these offer us a time to reflect on deeper truths, inviting us to live coram Deo. You see, whether the Yankees or Dodgers win or lose, where is your hope? Where is your faith? In talking about Donald Trump and Joe Rogan, their conversation, it reminds me to pursue truth and to question the world's noise with discernment. In a culture that often values image over substance, it's our responsibility to seek what's real, to listen carefully, and to hold fast to the truth. Jesus said in John chapter 8, verse 32, "Then you will know what the truth is, and the truth will set you free." Pursuing truth with integrity, even when it's challenging, enables us to live with clarity and purpose. Finally, the nova explosion in Coronae Borealis calls us to lift up our eyes and marvel at the beauty of God's creation. When we see the heavens declare his glory, we're reminded that our lives are part of something vast and magnificent. Living coram Deo means embracing our place within his grand design, aware that every moment we walk in his presence, accountable to him, and surrounded by his beauty. Wherever you find yourself, may you find strength to persevere, courage to seek the truth, and wonder to see God's handiwork in the world around you. As always, please review this podcast, rate this podcast, and thank you for listening. You're listening to Frontline Faith.